Hey everyone! Tonight we're diving into a question that'll jolt you awake, even if you're already tucked under your blanket. Atlantis, real or just a fairy tale swallowed by the sea? Before you drift off, hit that like button, drop a comment with where you're watching from and what time it is there. It's awesome to know who's joining us from around the globe. Now, picture yourself on an ancient shore, the salty wind slapping your face, and somewhere beneath that deep blue water, a legendary city is waiting for you to uncover or mock. The sand grits under your feet, hot even though the sun's gone down. You breathe in, and the air's a mix of briny sea and rotting seaweed that sticks to your tongue. Out there, the waves crash with a low rumble, like they're whispering a secret you'll never crack. This is the world 3,000 years ago. No Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth speakers, just stories told around a fire and dreams of a kingdom richer than any tech billionaire. Atlantis. The name sounds like a song, but is it real or just an ancient lie to make you feel like your life isn't miserable enough? Let's rewind. You're not a YouTube viewer sprawled on your couch anymore. You're a sailor on a creaky wooden ship, rocking on the Aegean Sea. Your nails dig into the railing, the rough wood scraping your skin. Every wave feels like a threat, as if the ocean's reminding you it doesn't like trespassers. Your crew, a bunch of sweaty, bearded sailors, are shouting about a divine island where gold piles up like trash and everyone lives like gods. Atlantis, they say, but when you ask where it is, they just shrug and spit into the sea. As reliable as social media drama, right? Now, let's sprinkle some history into this tale so you don't think I'm just rambling. Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher, was the first to make Atlantis a hot topic. Around 360 BCE, he wrote about it in two books, Timaeus and Critias. He described Atlantis as a mighty empire, bigger than Libya and Asia combined, with glittering palaces, labyrinthine canals, and an army that'd make anyone quake. But then in one night, poof, it vanished, swallowed by the sea because of human arrogance. Sounds like a Hollywood blockbuster, but Plato swore it was true, passed down from Solon, a Greek sage, through Egyptian priests. Do you buy it? Or was Plato just boosting his philosophy's clout? Imagine you're an Egyptian priest, standing in the dim light of an ancient temple, torch flames flickering on walls carved with hieroglyphs. The air smells of incense and sweat, giving you a slight headache. A Greek, Solon, stands before you, eyes gleaming like he's just heard the secret to the universe. You tell him about Atlantis, your voice low and steady, like you're dropping a cryptic post on X. You describe a civilization at its peak, with temples touching the sky, ships loaded with spices and pearls, and engineers who'd make even Elon Musk jealous. But you warn him, they got greedy, prideful, and the gods punish them by sinking the whole city. Solon nods, scribbling like he's prepping a 2,000-word essay. Here's the catch. Plato might have made it all up. Some scholars think Atlantis was just an allegory, a way for Plato to teach us that pride leads to ruin. Think about it. Ever promise yourself you'll only scroll social media for 10 minutes? Then suddenly, it's 2 a.m.? That's the kind of hubris Plato was warning about, thinking you're in control when you're not. If Atlantis is just a moral tale, you're wasting your time dreaming of a golden city when it might just be an idea in some old Greek guy's head. But let's shelve Plato for now. You're back on that ship, wincing at the stench of rotting fish and the screech of seagulls. An old sailor, teeth yellow as corn, pulls you aside and whispers about an island that could be Atlantis. He talks about Santorini or Thera, a volcanic island in Greece. Around 1600 BCE, it was obliterated by a massive eruption. Picture it, a thriving Minoan civilization with brightly painted houses, plumbing better than your rented apartment. And then boom, the volcano erupts, tsunamis hit, and it's all gone. You can smell the sulfur in the air, Hear the screams of people fleeing. Feel the ground shaking beneath you. Was that Atlantis? Or just a natural disaster Plato hyped into legend? Let's live a day in Thera before it went up in flames. You wake up on a straw mat, itching from bedbug bites. Outside your window, the Aegean Sea sparkles like an unfiltered Instagram post. You step outside, barefoot, on hot stone, and see Minoans bustling about. A woman with intricately braided hair paints a mural of dancing bulls. A burly man checks cargo at the docks. Wine, olive oil, gleaming copper. The smell of baking bread mixes with lavender, making you forget the heat. Life here isn't bad, is it? But there's a weird feeling like the ground's whispering. Enjoy it now, because things are about to get way worse. Then, the volcano wakes. You hear a boom like the sky's collapsing, black smoke billowing, blotting out the sun. The sky turns blood red, and a tsunami, dozens of meters high, charges like a beast. You run, heart pounding, but the water's right behind you. If this was Atlantis, it wasn't cursed by gods, it was erased by Earth itself. So the question is, do you have the guts to keep searching for it, or will you crawl back to your cozy bed and pretend you never heard the name? You're still there, standing on that imagined ancient shore, sand clinging to your soles, salty and sharp like promises that never pan out. The sea breeze hits you, carrying the stench of seaweed and something faintly burnt, like a volcano's stirring in the distance. You breathe in, trying not to grimace, as the smell stings your nose. The waves crash with a steady roar, but they're not whispering secrets anymore. They're warning you, like the ocean saying, don't bother chasing Atlantis, because it'll make you feel worse than a weekend deadline. Picture this. You're no longer that sailor on a rickety ship. Now you're a merchant, your linen cloak damp with sweat, a bag of copper ingots and pearls slung over your shoulder. You're at a bustling Minoan port, maybe on Crete, not far from Thera. The air's thick with the scent of olive oil and wine, mixed with the shouts of traders haggling like they're battling in a group chat. Around you, wooden ships sway, ropes creaking, and seagulls screech loud enough to drown out any clear thought. You squint, trying to focus, but the heat makes sweat trickle down your spine, soaking your cloak like a reminder that ancient life wasn't always as glamorous as those frescoes make it seem. Still, you can't deny it. These people knew how to live. The houses around you are painted white, red, yellow, with murals so vivid you half expect them to leap off the walls. One nearby shows girls vaulting over charging bulls, hair flying, silken skirts fluttering. You wonder, was that for fun, worship, or just bragging rights? Either way, you're not signing up. Leaping over a raging bull isn't on your wind down before bed list. But you look around and see wealth. Intricate pottery, gold necklaces glinting on noble women, and channels of water flowing cleaner than your apartment's plumbing. If Atlantis was real, could it have looked like this? Or are you just daydreaming amid a pile of old rocks? Let's step away from the port for a sec. You enter a grand house, the stone floor cool under your feet, a relief from the scorching heat. Inside, a woman, let's call her Ariadne, sits on a carved wooden chair, holding a spool of crimson thread. She's not some mythical princess, but a sharp-witted warehouse manager who'd argue with anyone. She glances at you, her eyes saying, "If you're not here for business, get lost." You ask about Atlantis, since you've heard Minoans know more than they let on. Ariadne smirks, like you just asked if the moon's made of cheese. Atlantis, she scoffs. A bedtime story for kids. But if you're hunting a lost city, look to Thera. Before the volcano swallowed it, that place was richer than your wildest dreams. You sit uninvited. Her story about Thera piques your interest, and though she's reluctant, she starts talking. You hear the life in her voice. Thera wasn't just an island, it was the heart of the Minoan world. They had palaces with hundreds of rooms, storerooms stuffed with grain and wine, and ships sailing as far as Egypt, bringing back ivory and lapis lazuli. But she stops, fixing you with a cold stare. You think living there was easy? The ground shook every day. The earth growled beneath your feet, like Poseidon was knocking. They knew the volcano could erupt, but they kept building, kept laughing, like death was someone else's problem. You shiver not just from a story, but from how Ariadne tells it, like she was there, smelled the sulfur, heard the earth rumble. You think about modern life. You ignore warnings too, don't you? Like when your phone's low on battery, but you keep scrolling, or when a coworker flags a project about to implode and you just shrug. Maybe the Minoans weren't so different. But the bigger question is, was there Atlantis? Modern archaeologists have dug up Akrotiri, a town on Thera preserved under volcanic ash. They found 3-story houses, stunning frescoes, and drainage systems that'd shame your clogged sink. But no sign saying, "Welcome to Atlantis." So, do you trust Ariadne, or is she just spinning a tale to keep you up at night? Let's live a day in Akrotiri, before it all fell apart. You wake in a small room, sunlight streaming through a wooden window, illuminating a wall painted with soaring gulls. The smell of baking bread and honey lingers, but there's a faint whiff of smoke, not from a hearth, but from somewhere deep in the earth. You step outside, the streets alive with kids running, laughter echoing. A man carves a stone seal, a ship riding waves. You pause, asking about the tremors. He grins, teeth bright in the sun. "The earth's always talking," he says. "We just learned to tune it out." But you can't tune it out. Every step, you feel the ground quiver, like a reminder that nature doesn't care about your murals or gold. You pass a temple where priests pray, offering wine and honey to statues. The heavy scent of incense makes you dizzy, and their steady chants send chills down your spine. They're begging Poseidon for mercy, but you wonder, if Poseidon's truly mad, will a bit of wine calm him down? You want to scream, tell them to run, but you're just a visitor from the future, as helpless as when you watch a horror movie and know the hero's doomed. Then it happens. You're on a stone-paved street, holding a water jug, when the ground lurches. The jug falls, shatters, water seeping into the cracks, like blood. A boom erupts, not from the sky, but from the island itself. Black smoke rises, blotting out the sun, and you hear screams, not one, but hundreds, mixed with the crack of wood and rumble of falling stone. You run, barefoot, on hot rock, heart pounding like it'll burst. A tsunami's coming. You feel it in the air, a heavy pressure like knowing bad news is on the way, but being powerless to stop it. The water hits, ice cold, dragging you down like an invisible hand. You surface, gasping, but all around is darkness and the seas roar. When you open your eyes, you're back in your armchair, phone screen glowing, the YouTube video still playing. But Atlantis' story isn't over. You wonder, if Thera wasn't Atlantis, what was? Another island? A forgotten civilization? Or just a reminder that, no matter how much you build, nature has a way of making you feel small? And if you think this tale's creepy enough, ask yourself, what would you do if you were living in a modern Atlantis, just waiting for its collapse? You're still here, aren't you? Not drifting off into dreamland yet? If this dive into Atlantis is keeping you hooked, drop a question in the comments below. I'm dying to know what's swirling in your head right now. And before we keep going, hit that like button if you're vibing with this journey. Now let's plunge back into the mystery, because the sea's still whispering, and it's got more secrets to spill than your group chat after a night out. The air's heavy now, thick with salt and the faint tang of something metallic, like the earth's bleeding somewhere far off. You're not on that bustling Minoan port anymore, nor clinging to a ship's railing. This time, you're perched on a rocky outcrop, high above a churning sea, the kind of cliff that makes your stomach lurch just looking down. The wind howls, tugging at your tunic. Yeah, you're still dressed like an ancient wanderer, no cozy hoodie here. Spray from a wave stings your face, and the rocks under your bare feet are slick, threatening to send you skidding into the abyss. You squint against the glare of the sun bouncing off the water, and somewhere out there, beyond the horizon, you can almost feel Atlantis mocking you. Is it real? Or is it just laughing at your obsession, like a notification you can't stop checking? You're not alone on this cliff. There's a figure beside you, an old woman with skin like weathered leather and eyes sharp enough to cut through your nonsense. Let's call her Talia, a storyteller who's seen more than you'll ever know. Her voice is rough, like she's gargled gravel, and she smells faintly of herbs and smoke, the kind of scent that clings to someone who's spent too long by ritual fires. She's weaving a net, her gnarled fingers moving faster than you'd expect. And she doesn't even look at you when you ask about Atlantis. You're chasing ghosts, she says, her tone dripping with the kind of sarcasm you'd hear from a friend who's tired of your bad decisions. But if you must know, the sea keeps its treasures hidden. Ever heard of the Pillars of Hercules? You nod, half remembering some dusty history lesson. The Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar, where the ancient worlds do not pass sign, the edge of the known map. Beyond them lay the Atlantic, a vast, terrifying unknown that made even the bravest sailors sweat. Talia smirks, like she knows you're already out of your depth. The stories say Atlantis sat out there, she continues, pointing a bony finger toward the endless water. A land of wonders, where the earth gave gold like it was dirt, and the people thought they could outsmart the gods. Spoiler, they couldn't. Her laugh is dry, like crackling leaves, and it makes you uneasy, like you're the punchline to a joke you don't get. Let's pause and ground this in some history, because Talia's tales, while gripping, sound like they could be spun to scare kids. Plato, our old friend from Athens, placed Atlantis beyond the Pillars of Hercules, in the Atlantic Ocean. He described it as a massive island, with concentric rings of land and water, a capital city that'd make modern urban planners weep with envy. Temples clad in silver, walls coated in a mysterious metal called orichalcum, and gardens bursting with fruit no one's tasted since. But here's the kicker. No one's found a shred of evidence in the Atlantic. No golden temples, no orichalcum scraps, just a whole lot of water and some grumpy fish. So, was Plato pointing to a real place, or was he just flexing his imagination to make a point about hubris? You tell me. Would you bet your Wi-Fi password on a 2,400-year-old story? Back to Talia. She's still weaving that net, the rhythm of her hands almost hypnotic. You ask if anyone's ever gone looking for Atlantis out there, beyond the pillars. She snorts, finally glancing at you, her eyes glinting like she's about to drop a truth bomb. Plenty tried, she says. Sailors, dreamers, fools. Most never came back. The sea doesn't care about your courage or your maps. It swallows what it wants. She tells you about ancient Phoenician traders, master mariners who sailed past the pillars, hugging the coasts of Africa and Europe. They brought back tales of strange lands, of islands that appeared at dawn and vanished by dusk, of waters so deep they seemed to breathe. Were they talking about Atlantis? Or just hyping up their adventures to score free drinks at the tavern? Imagine you're one of those Phoenician sailors. Your ship's a fragile thing, with groaning under the weight of amphorae filled with wine and oil. The sun's brutal, blistering your shoulders, and the salt's crusted your lips until they crack. Your crew's singing a low, rhythmic chant to keep time with the oars, but it's drowned out by the wind's howl. You're past the pillars now, the Mediterranean behind you, and the Atlantic stretches out like a void. The water's darker here, heavier, and every wave feels like it's sizing you up. You've heard the stories, a land of endless riches, where the ground sparkles and the people live forever. But you've also heard about storms that snap masts like twigs and currents that drag ships to the bottom. Your hands tighten on the rudder, and you wonder, is Atlantis worth this? Or are you just chasing a mirage? Like when you swear you'll finish that work project, but end up binge-watching instead. Let's live a day in that world. You wake at dawn, the deck swaying beneath you, your back aching from sleeping on a pile of ropes. The air smells of tar and fish, and your breakfast is a hunk of stale bread and a swig of sour wine. The crew's restless, muttering about omens, a dead albatross floating by, a strange light on the horizon last night. You ignore them, focusing on the stars to navigate, but the sky's clouding over, and a chill creeps into your bones. By noon, the sea's turned rough, waves slapping the hull like they're pissed. You shout orders, but the wind steals your voice. Then you see it, a shadow in the distance, too solid to be a cloud, too vast to be a ship. An island? Your heart leaps, but before you can steer closer, a squall hits, rain like needles, and the shadow's gone. Was that Atlantis? Or just your tired eyes playing tricks? Like when you think you see your phone light up, but it's just wishful thinking. Back on the cliff, Talia's finished her net. She holds it up, the knots tight and perfect, and you realize she's been weaving this whole time without missing a beat. The sea's a liar, she says, standing and brushing dust off her robe. It shows you what you want, then takes it away. If Atlantis is out there, it's not for the likes of you. Her words hit like a slap, but before you can argue, she's gone, her footsteps fading into the wind. You're alone again, the sea stretching out below, and you can't shake the feeling that she's right. The Atlantic's too big, too deep, too cruel to give up its secrets. But then you think, what if she's wrong? What if Atlantis isn't a place, but an idea, a warning, a dream, a trap? Let's throw in some modern perspective to keep your feet on the ground. Archaeologists and explorers have scoured the Atlantic for Atlantis, from the Azores to the Canary Islands. They've found sunken islands, sure, but nothing matching Plato's utopia. Some point to the Bahamas, where strange underwater structures called the Bimini Road look like man-made roads, or maybe just weirdly shaped rocks. Others think Atlantis could be in the Mediterranean, not the Atlantic, and Plato got his geography wrong. The point is, no one's found it, and every expedition comes back with more questions than answers. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing and no picture on the box. So why do we keep looking? Because humans are suckers for a good story. That's why. The same reason you're still watching this video instead of sleeping. You're still on that cliff, the wind colder now, the sea darker. Your tunic's damp, clinging to your skin, and your feet are numb from the rock. You want to climb down, find a fire, maybe some wine, but the horizon keeps pulling you back. Somewhere out there, Atlantis might be waiting, or it might be laughing at you, a ghost that only exists because you want it to. And here's the scary part. What if finding it isn't the answer? What if the truth about Atlantis is worse than the mystery? Like opening a message you've been dreading only to find it's even uglier than you feared. The wind's sharper now, slicing through your damp tunic like a knife, and the sea below churns with a restless hunger, its foam glinting like teeth in the fading light. You're still perched on that cliff, the rock biting into your soles, and the horizon feels like it's taunting you, daring you to keep chasing a city that might not even exist. Your throat's dry, tasting of salt and regret, and the distant cry of a gull sounds like it's laughing at your stubbornness. Atlantis. The name's a weight in your chest, heavy as the realization you've been up too late chasing a dream when you should be sleeping. But you can't look away, not yet, because something about this mystery pulls you deeper, like a notification you know you shouldn't click, but do anyway. You shift, trying to ease the ache in your legs, and notice a faint path winding down the cliff, barely visible in the dusk. It's steep, treacherous, the kind of trail that screams bad idea, but you're not here to play it safe. You start descending, gripping jagged rocks for balance, your palms stinging as they scrape against stone. The air grows heavier, thick with the scent of wet earth and something sour, like decay seeping from the sea. Halfway down, you slip, your foot skidding on loose gravel, and for a heart-stopping second, you think you're done for. But you catch yourself, breathing hard, and keep going. This isn't just a cliff anymore, it's a test, and Atlantis is the prize, or maybe the punishment. At the bottom, you find a cove, a crescent of black sand glittering under the last rays of sunlight. The waves here are quieter, lapping at the shore like they're too tired to fight. Scattered along the beach are fragments of something man-made, broken pottery, bits of corroded metal, a carved stone half buried in the sand. You kneel, brushing away grit, and the stone surface reveals faint lines, maybe a map, maybe a symbol, but it's too worn to tell. Your fingers tremble, not from cold, but from the sudden thought, what if this is a piece of Atlantis? Or is it just another dead end? Like when you think you've cracked a mystery only to find it's nothing but noise. You're not alone. A shadow moves near the water, and you freeze, heart thudding. It's a man, tall and wiry, his cloak tattered and patched like he's been wandering forever. His name's Damon, or so he says when you call out, his voice low and cracked, like he hasn't spoken in days. He's a scavenger, one of those who comb forgotten shores for relics to sell or hoard. His hands are stained with dirt and salt, and his eyes have a feverish glint, like someone who's seen too much and believed too little. You're after Atlantis, aren't you? He says, not a question, but a jab, like he's caught you red-handed. You nod, and he laughs, a sound like breaking glass. Good luck. The sea's a thief, and it doesn't give back what it takes. Damon squats beside you, poking at the carved stone with a stick. He tells you about the stories he's heard, not from philosophers like Plato, but from sailors and outcasts, people who live on the edges of the world. They talk of a city that shone like fire, its towers piercing the clouds, its harbors crowded with ships from lands no one's named. But they also talk of its fall, not just a wave or a quake, but a cataclysm so vast it rewrote the map. Damon's voice drops, and you lean closer, catching the sour smell of his breath. Some say it wasn't the gods or the earth, he whispers. They say the Atlanteans did it to themselves, built something they couldn't control. A weapon, a machine, something that burned too bright and broke the world. You sit back, the sand cold against your thighs, and try to process that. A weapon? It's a wild idea, but it sticks in your mind like a song you can't unhear. Plato never mentioned anything like that. His Atlantis fell because of pride, not some ancient superweapon. But what if Damon's onto something? What if Atlantis wasn't just a city, but a civilization that pushed too far? Like a startup betting everything on a risky launch only to crash and burn. You think of modern parallels, nuclear reactors, AI, tech we're not sure we can handle. Could the Atlanteans have been us, just with better architecture and worse luck? Let's ground this in some history before you get too lost in conspiracy land. Scholars have long debated what could have inspired Plato's Atlantis, and some point to real events beyond the Mediterranean. The Minoan collapse, like Thera's eruption, is a strong candidate, but others look further afield. Take the island of Santorini's neighbor, Crete, where the Minoan civilization thrived until around 1450 BCE. Earthquakes, invasions, or internal collapse, maybe all three, brought it down. Or consider the Sea Peoples, a mysterious group who raided the eastern Mediterranean around 1200 BCE, toppling empires like dominoes. Could their homeland, lost to history, be Atlantis? No one knows, because the Sea Peoples didn't exactly leave a forwarding address. The point is, history's full of gaps, and Atlantis fits neatly into them, like a ghost story you tell to explain the unexplainable. Back to Damon. He's pacing now, kicking at the sand, muttering about a shipwreck he found years ago, half sunk in a reef beyond the cove. He claims it held strange artifacts, metal that didn't rust, stones that glowed faintly in the dark. Not human, he says, and you're not sure if he's serious or just messing with you. You ask to see it, but he shakes his head, pointing to the sea. Storm took it. Always does. His story's shaky, but it plants a seed. What if Atlantis wasn't just advanced, but alien advanced? You roll your eyes at the thought. You're not here for sci-fi, but the idea lingers, like a weird TikTok you can't stop thinking about. Let's live a day in this cove, as if you're part of Damon's world. You wake at sunrise, the sand gritty under your cheek, your body stiff from sleeping on the ground. The air's damp, smelling of kelp and rust, and your stomach growls as you chew on a strip of dried fish Damon shared. He's already up, sifting through debris, his hands moving with a frantic precision. You join him, digging through the sand, finding shards of pottery with patterns you don't recognize, spirals, waves, something that might be a star. The work's tedious, your nails caked with dirt, but every find feels like a clue, even if it's just junk. By noon, the sun's a hammer, your skin burning, and the sea's too rough to dive. Damon tells you about the wrecks out there, ships that sank with treasures no one's claimed. You listen, but the waves' rhythm lulls you, and for a moment you forget why you're here. Then a storm rolls in. The sky turns bruise purple, and the wind screams, flinging sand into your eyes. You and Damon scramble for cover, huddling behind a boulder as rain pelts you like stones. Lightning cracks, illuminating the cove, and you swear you see something in the water, a shape too regular to be natural, too fleeting to be sure. A tower? A ruin? Your heart races, but the darkness swallows it, and Damon's shouting at you to stay put. The storm's a beast tearing at the world, and you realize how small you are, how fragile your search is. If Atlantis is out there, it's not yours to find. Not today, maybe not ever. When the storm passes, you're soaked, shivering. The cove a mess of scattered debris. Damon's gone, slipped away while you were distracted, leaving you with nothing but that carved stone and a head full of questions. You sit, the wet sand seeping through your clothes, and stare at the sea. It's calm now, almost mocking, its surface smooth as glass. You think about Damon's weapon story, about Plato's warnings, about the wrecks no one's found. What if Atlantis wasn't lost by accident? What if it was hidden, buried by those who knew its power was too much for the world? And scarier still, what if we're closer to repeating their mistakes than you'd like to admit? Building our own Atlantis, waiting for the sea to claim it? The sea's too quiet now, its surface a deceptive mirror reflecting a sky bruised with the last hues of twilight. You're still in that cove, crouched on the black sand, the carved stone heavy in your hand, its faint lines teasing you with meaning you can't quite grasp. The air's damp, thick with the smell of wet rock and something sharper, like ozone left by the storm's wrath. Your clothes cling to your skin, cold and gritty, and every breath tastes of salt, coating your lips like a promise you can't trust. Damon's gone, vanished like a ghost, leaving you alone with the waves' soft whispers and the nagging thought that Atlantis is slipping further away, a dream you're chasing with no map and no hope. Your knees ache from kneeling too long, but you can't move, not when the sea feels like it's watching, waiting for you to make the next mistake. You stand, brushing sand from your palms, and notice the tides creeping in, lapping at the debris scattered across the shore. The broken pottery and rusted metal glint faintly, like they're daring you to keep digging, to believe there's more here than just relics of a forgotten ship. You pick up a shard, its edge sharp enough to draw blood if you're not careful. It's painted with a spiral, tight and dizzying, like the kind of pattern you'd see in a trance. Your thumb traces it. And for a moment, you're not just holding a piece of clay, but a fragment of a world that might have been Atlantis, or might have been nothing at all. The uncertainty gnaws at you, like when you're sure you've forgotten something important, but can't remember what. You're not ready to give up, not after the storm, not after Damon's wild tales of glowing stones and ancient weapons. You start walking along the cove, the sand sucking at your feet, each step heavier than the last. The cliffs loom above, their shadows stretching across the beach like fingers, and you feel small, exposed, like the sea could swallow you whole, and no one would notice. Farther down, you spot a cave, its mouth half hidden by jagged rocks and draped with seaweed like a curtain. The air around it is colder, carrying a faint hum, not quite sound but vibration, like the earth's pulse. Your skin prickles and you hesitate, because caves like this don't exactly scream welcome. But Atlantis isn't a story for the cautious, so you duck inside, the darkness swallowing you like a bad decision. Inside, the air's stale, smelling of mold and something metallic, like old coins. Your eyes adjust slowly, catching the faint glow of bioluminescent algae clinging to the walls, casting eerie green streaks across the stone. The cave's narrow, its ceiling low enough to make you hunch, and the drip of water echoes like a clock ticking down. You move deeper, your sandals slipping on the slick floor, and the hum grows stronger, buzzing in your chest like a warning. You're not sure what you're looking for, a golden statue, a lost tablet, maybe just proof you're not wasting your time. But every step feels like you're crossing a line, like you're trespassing in a place that doesn't want you. The cave opens into a wider chamber, and you stop dead. The walls are carved not randomly, but with precision, covered in symbols you don't recognize. Spirals, waves, strange angular shapes that could be letters or code. They're deep, deliberate, and even in the dim light, you can see they're old, older than anything you've seen on the surface. Your fingers brush one, expecting dust, but the stone's smooth, almost warm, like it's been touched recently. The hum's louder here, vibrating through your bones, and you swear the air's heavier, pressing on your lungs. You're alone, but it doesn't feel like it. Something's watching. Or maybe the cave itself is alive, and you're the fool who wandered into its heart. Let's pull back for a second and anchor this in reality, because caves with creepy carvings can sound like something out of a thriller. Historians and archaeologists have long hunted for Atlantis in places like this. Hidden grottos, forgotten ruins, anywhere that might hold a clue. Some point to the Mediterranean, others to the Caribbean. But one theory keeps cropping up. What if Atlantis wasn't an island, but a network, a civilization spread across multiple sites, connected by trade and ambition? The Minoans, with their far-reaching ships, could fit the bill, but so could others, like the ancient cultures of the Canary Islands or even the Americas. The problem? No one's found a smoking gun, no inscription, no artifact that screams Atlantis was here. It's like searching for a lost email in a spam folder with no search bar. Back in the cave, you're still tracing those carvings, your heart pounding like you're about to uncover the truth. You notice something else, a shallow pool in the center of the chamber, its surface still as glass, reflecting the glowing algae like a starry sky. You lean over, and your reflection stares back, distorted, your face warped like you're not yourself anymore. Then, something moves in the water, not you, not a fish, but a shadow, fleeting and sharp, like a blade cutting through the dark. You jerk back, nearly tripping, and the hum spikes, a sound you feel more than hear, rattling your teeth. You want to run, but your feet are rooted, because whatever's in that pool knows you're here, and it's not happy about it. Let's live a moment in this cave, as if you're not just a visitor, but part of its story. You've been here hours, though it feels like minutes, your hands raw from touching the walls, your eyes burning from straining in the dark. You're hungry, your stomach twisting, but all you've got is a stale crust of bread from the cove, tasteless and gritty. The air's so thick it's like breathing soup, and every sound, a drip, a scrape, your own breath, feels amplified, like the caves mocking your fear. You try to focus, sketching the symbols in your mind, but they blur, shifting when you're not looking. You're not sure if it's exhaustion or something else, but the carvings seem to pulse, like they're alive, telling a story you're not ready to hear. You sit by the pool, forcing yourself to stay calm, and think about Damon's words, a weapon, a machine, something the Atlanteans couldn't control. What if these symbols aren't just art, but instructions, a blueprint for something catastrophic? You laugh, because it sounds insane, like you've been watching too many sci-fi movies. But the laugh dies in your throat when the water ripples again, unprovoked. You scramble to your feet, backing toward the tunnel. But the hum's everywhere now, a chorus of whispers you can't understand. You're not a hero, not an archaeologist, just a fool who thought chasing Atlantis would be fun. And now you're in too deep, literally and figuratively, with no way out but forward. Let's step into the broader picture again. Modern researchers have toyed with wild ideas about Atlantis, not just lost cities, but lost technologies. Some fringe theories, and I mean fringe, suggest the Atlanteans had advanced knowledge, maybe even energy sources we don't understand, based on myths about glowing crystals or mysterious metals. Most scholars roll their eyes at this, pointing out that Plato's Atlantis was already fantastical without adding alien tech. But myths often hide kernels of truth, don't they? The Greeks wrote about automatons and flying chariots. Who's to say what the Atlanteans, if they existed, might have dreamed up? Still, no cave, no matter how creepy, has coughed up proof, and every Atlantis found headline ends up debunked faster than a viral hoax. You're still in the cave, the pool's glow fading as the algae dims, like it's tired of your presence. You've got the carved stone from the cove clutched in one hand, and you wonder if it's connected to these walls, if it's a key you don't know how to use. The hum's softer now, but it's still there, a reminder that you're not welcome. You turn to leave, the tunnel's darkness swallowing the light, and your footsteps echo, too loud, like the caves throwing your fear back at you. Outside, the sea's waiting, its waves louder, hungrier, and you realize Atlantis isn't just a place. It's a warning, a mirror showing you what happens when you reach too far, want too much. And the scariest part? You're not sure you can stop reaching, even if it means drowning in the attempt. Hold up, are you still with me, or are you half asleep, dreaming of golden cities under the waves? If you're still hooked on this Atlantis chase, drop a comment below with what you think it is, myth, reality, or something weirder. And hey, smash that like button to keep the vibes going. It's awesome knowing you're out there, piecing this mystery with me. Now let's slip back into the story, because the sea's getting restless, and it's not done with you yet. You stumble out of the cave, the carved stone still clutched in your hand, its weight grounding you as the cold air hits like a slap. The cove is darker now, the moon a thin sickle casting jagged shadows across the black sand. The sea's louder, its waves clawing at the shore with a rhythm that feels personal, like it's calling you out for daring to poke around its secrets. Your tunic's damp, sticking to your skin, and the salt's crusted your lips until they sting. Every step crunches on the sand, too loud in the stillness, and the memory of that cave, the humming walls, the rippling pool, clings to you like damp fog. You're not sure what you saw in there, but it's left a mark, a nagging itch that Atlantis is closer than you think, and further away than you'll ever reach. You pause, catching your breath, and notice the tides brought something new to the shore. A glint in the moonlight, half buried in the sand, like a coin winking at you. You kneel, digging with your hands, the grains cold and sharp against your fingers. It's not a coin, but a small, flat disc metal, its surface etched with the same spirals you saw in the cave. It's heavy for its size, unnaturally smooth, and when you hold it to the light, it doesn't reflect like bronze or silver. It glows, faintly, like it's holding a secret it doesn't want to share. Your heart skips, because this isn't just a trinket, it's a clue, or maybe a trap. And you're too deep in this to care which. You're not alone. Footsteps crunch behind you, slow and deliberate, and you spin, the disc tight in your fist. It's not Damon, not Talia, but a woman, young, her hair tangled with seaweed, her robe stained with salt and sand. Her name's Cora, she says, her voice soft but sharp, like a blade wrapped in silk. She's a diver, one of those who brave the reefs to salvage what the sea spits up. Her hands are scarred, her eyes too old for her face, and she smells of brine and something sweet, like dried figs. That's not yours, she says, nodding at the disc, but there's no anger, just a weary amusement, like she's seen fools like you before. You ask about Atlantis, expecting her to laugh, but she doesn't. Instead, she sits on a rock, motioning you to join her, and starts talking. Cora's story isn't like the others. She doesn't speak of golden towers or divine wrath, but of a people who lived with the sea, not against it. She describes a city built on a lagoon, its streets of water, its houses floating like lilies. They were sailors, scholars, keepers of knowledge no one else dared touch. They knew the stars, she says, her voice dropping, and the currents beneath the earth. They built machines to harness them, to light their homes, to move their ships without wind. You lean closer, the disc warm in your hand, and ask if that's what sank them. Cora shrugs, her smile bitter. Knowledge is a tide. It lifts you, then drowns you. They learned too much, and the sea took it back. Her words hit you not just because they're poetic, but because they feel true, like a warning you've heard before, but ignored. You think of the cave, the symbols, Damon's talk of a weapon. What if Atlantis wasn't destroyed by greed or gods, but by its own brilliance, a civilization that flew too close to the sun and burned? You're reminded of modern parallels, tech giants racing to build AI fusion reactors, things we're not sure we can control. You want to ask Cora more, but she's staring at the sea, her face unreadable, and you realize she's not here to give you answers, just to make you question everything. Let's anchor this in some history, because Cora's tale, while haunting, sounds like it could be spun to sell books. Plato's Atlantis was a technological marvel, with canals, docks, and a central temple that sounds like it belonged in a sci-fi epic. But real-world parallels exist. The Minoans had advanced plumbing and multi-story buildings. The ancient Indus Valley cities had grid-like streets and drainage systems that rival modern ones. Could a culture like that, pushed further, have been Atlantis? Some researchers look to places like the submerged ruins off Yanaguni, Japan, or the sunken city of Dwarka in India, where underwater structures hint at lost civilizations. None are Atlantis, not definitively, but they fuel the fire, because humans love imagining what we've lost, like pining for a phone you dropped in the toilet. Back with Cora. You're still on that rock, the disc burning a hole in your pocket. You show it to her, half expecting her to snatch it, but she just traces the spirals with a scarred finger. Found one like it once, she says, deeper than I should have gone. The sea didn't want me there. She tells you about a dive years ago to a reef where the water was too clear, too still, like it was hiding something. She found a structure, not a ship, but a platform, carved with the same symbols, half buried in coral. It hummed, she says, like the cave, and when she touched it, her head filled with images, towers, lights, a city alive and then gone. She never went back, and you can see why. Her hands are shaking, and you're not sure it's from a cold. Let's live a day in Cora's world. You're on her boat, a small, weathered thing that smells of tar and fish. The dawn's gray, the air heavy with mist, and your stomach churns as the boat rocks. Cora's at the helm, her movements sure, her eyes scanning the water like it's a puzzle she's solved 1,000 times. You're her apprentice today, learning to dive. your skin prickling with nerves. She hands you a weighted belt, its leather cracked, and tells you to breathe slow, to respect the sea. You plunge in, the water cold enough to steal your breath, and the world turns silent, save for the thud of your heart. Below, the reef's a maze of color and shadow, fish darting like thoughts you can't catch. Cora points to a shape, half hidden in the sand, another disk, glowing faintly. You reach for it, but the current shifts, pulling you back, and the hum starts again, low and insistent, like the sea saying, "Not yet." You surface, gasping, the boat's hull a lifeline. Cora's there, pulling you up, her grip strong but gentle. She doesn't ask what you saw, just hand you a rag to dry your face, and you realize she's protecting you, or maybe protecting the sea. Back on shore, you're shivering, the disc from the cove still in your pocket, and you wonder if it's calling to the one you saw below, if they're pieces of something bigger, something dangerous. Cora's watching you, her eyes soft now, and she says, "The sea keeps what it loves. If Atlantis is down there, it's not yours to take." Let's step back for a modern lens. Explorers have mapped the ocean floor with sonar, found sunken cities, but nothing matches Plato's Atlantis. Yet technology keeps the myth alive. Underwater drones, deep-sea subs, tools that let us peek where Cora could only dive. Some say Atlantis could be in the Black Sea, flooded when the Mediterranean rose, or off Cuba, where sonars caught odd shapes. But every discovery's a maybe, and the sea's too vast to care about our curiosity. It's like chasing a viral post you can't find. The more you look, the less you trust what you see. You're back in the cove, Cora gone as quietly as she came, leaving you with a disc and a head full of doubts. The sea's calm now, its waves gentle, but you know better than to trust it. You think of the cave, the reef, the stories of a city that knew too much and paid the price. Atlantis isn't just a place, it's a mirror, reflecting our hunger for answers, our fear of what we'll find. And the worst part? You're starting to think the truth might be uglier than the myth, like opening a door you can't close. Knowing whatever's behind it will change you forever. The moon's higher now, a pale sliver casting a cold glow over the cove, turning the black sand into a field of glinting obsidian. You're still here, the strange metal disc tucked in your pocket, its faint warmth seeping through your tunic like a heartbeat. The sea's whispers have softened, but they're no less insistent, curling around you like smoke, urging you to keep moving, keep searching, even though your body's screaming for rest. Your feet are raw, scraped from the rocks, and the salt on your skin itches like a bad decision you can't undo. Cora's words linger, heavy as the damp air. "Atlantis isn't yours to take," she said, "but the disc feels like it's chosen you, or maybe cursed you, and you're not sure which is worse." You start walking, away from the cave, away from the shore, following a faint trail that winds up from the cove into a rocky hillside. The path is narrow, overgrown with thorny scrub that snags your clothes, each tug a reminder that you're not welcome here either. The air shifts, losing the sea's briny bite and taking on a dry, dusty scent, like old bones baking under the sun. Your throat's parched, your tongue sticking to the roof of your mouth, but there's no water, just the weight of the disc and the nagging sense that you're being pulled somewhere, like a moth to a flame you can't see. The hillside levels out, and you find yourself in a clearing, ringed by weathered stones that might have been a wall once, or a temple, or nothing at all. The ground's uneven, littered with shards of clay and glints of metal, and in the center, there's a slab, flat and smooth, too perfect to be natural. You approach, your shadow stretching long across the slab, and notice carvings on its surface, more spirals, more waves, but these are deeper, sharper, like they were meant to last. The disc in your pocket pulses, or maybe that's your imagination, but when you place it on the slab, it fits perfectly into a shallow groove, like a key in a lock. Nothing happens, no secret door, no glowing portal. But the air feels heavier, charged, like the moment before a lightning strike. You step back, heart thudding, and that's when you hear it, a low hum, not from a slab but from the ground itself, vibrating through your soles, up your spine, into your skull. It's the same hum from a cave, the reef, and you realize Atlantis isn't just a place, it's a presence, and you've been chasing it straight into its grasp. You're not alone. A figure steps from the shadows, cloaked in dark fabric that blends with the night. His name's Theron, he says, his voice smooth but cold, like polished stone. He's no scavenger or diver, but a scholar, or so he claims, though his hands are calloused, his eyes too sharp for someone who just reads scrolls. He smells of ink and something bitter, like burnt herbs, and he moves with a purpose that makes you uneasy. You found something dangerous, he says, glancing at the disc, and you can't tell if he's warning you or sizing you up. You ask about Atlantis, expecting evasion, but Theron's direct. It was real, he says, and it's still here, in pieces, waiting for someone foolish enough to wake it. Theron's story is different from Korra's, Damon's, Talia's. He speaks of Atlantis as a hub of power, not just wealth or knowledge, but something elemental, tied to the Earth's core. He describes a city that harnessed forces we can't fathom, currents of energy, not just water or wind, but something deeper, older, that ran through stone and sea. They called it the breath of the world, he says, his voice dropping to a whisper. And they built machines to control it, to light their cities, to defy the gods. But the breath was alive, he warns, and it didn't like being tamed. When Atlantis fell, it wasn't just waves or quakes, it was the earth itself, rebelling against those who chained it. You shiver, not from the night air, but from the thought that you're standing on that same earth, holding a piece of that same power. Let's ground this in some history, because Theron's tale sounds like it could fuel a blockbuster, not a lecture. Plato's Atlantis was a technological marvel, but real ancient cultures had their own wonders. The Antikythera mechanism, a Greek device from 100 BCE, was a mechanical computer, tracking stars with eerie precision. The Romans built aqueducts that still stand, and the Nazca lines in Peru defy explanation, carved into deserts for reasons we can't crack. Could a civilization like Atlantis have pushed further, tapping into energies we've only begun to explore? Some modern theorists, the tinfoil hat crowd, talk about ancient power sources like crystals or geomagnetic fields, but archaeologists stick to what they can dig up: pottery, tools, bones. Nothing screams Atlantis, but the gaps in history are wide enough for Theron's story to slip through. Back in the clearing, Theron's circling the slab, his eyes fixed on the disc like it's a bomb about to go off. You ask what it does, and he hesitates, like he's weighing how much you can handle. It's a key, he says finally, to a machine that's still alive somewhere under the sea. He tells you about a ruin he found years ago on an island no one visits, where the ground hums and the water glows. He saw things there, shadows that moved without light, voices that spoke no language he knew. He never went back, but the disc, he says, could lead you there, if you're stupid enough to try. You laugh, because this sounds like a horror movie pitch, but the hum's still in your bones, and the disc feels heavier, like it's listening. Let's live a day in Theron's world. You're his apprentice, trailing him through a crumbling ruin on this forgotten island. The dawn's harsh, the sun baking the stones, and the air smells of dust and salt, like history's rotting. Your hands are blistered from carrying Theron's tools: a bronze stylus, a clay tablet, a knife too sharp for comfort. He's mapping the ruin, sketching symbols that match the slabs, his fingers stained with charcoal. You're thirsty, your canteen empty, but Theron doesn't stop muttering about the breath, about machines that could wake the earth. You find a chamber, its walls pulsing with that same hum, and Theron freezes, his face pale. Don't touch anything, he snaps, but you're already reaching for a lever, smooth and cold. because curiosity's a drug. Nothing happens, but the hum spikes, and Theron drags you out, cursing your recklessness. Back in the clearing, Theron's still talking, but his voice is strained, like he's fighting to stay calm. He tells you the Atlanteans didn't just fall, they were erased, their machines buried by the sea to keep the breath from waking. The disk, he says, is a fragment of that world, a spark that could reignite it. You want to scoff, to call him a storyteller, but the slab's carvings are glowing now, faintly, and the hum's a chorus, pulling at your thoughts. Theron grabs your arm, his grip bruising, and says, "Leave it, or you'll bring it back." You pull free, the disk still in your pocket, and he steps back, like you're the danger now. Let's step into the modern world for a second. Scientists have explored the ocean's depths, finding hydrothermal vents and magnetic anomalies that hint at forces we don't fully understand. Could an ancient culture have tapped into something similar, a geothermal or electromagnetic pulse? Probably not, but the idea's seductive, like believing your phone's smarter than you are. Real Atlantis candidates, like the submerged ruins off Alexandria or the Bahamas Bimini Road, keep the dream alive, but they're more likely natural or unrelated. Still, the hum Theron describes feels real, like the buzz of a city at night, and you wonder if we're chasing the same power, building machines we can't control, just waiting for the earth to push back. You're still in the clearing, the slab's glow fading, the hum softening to a whisper. Theron's gone, melted into the night, leaving you with the disk and a choice you're not ready to make. The sea's out there beyond the hill, its waves a distant roar, and you know the ruin Theron spoke of is waiting, humming alive. Atlantis isn't just a city anymore. It's a question, a dare, a warning etched in stone and metal. And the worst part? You're starting to think finding it might mean losing something bigger, like trading your peace for a truth that'll break you apart. The night's grown colder, the air biting at your exposed skin as you stand in the clearing, the carved slab silent now, its faint glow snuffed out like a candle. The metal disc in your pocket feels heavier, its spirals pressing against your thigh, a constant reminder of Theron's warning. Leave it, or you'll bring it back. The hum's gone, but its echo lingers in your chest, a restless pulse that won't let you rest. The sea's roar is distant, muffled by the hillside, but it's still there, pulling at you like a tide you can't resist. Your tunic's torn, scratched by thorns, and your feet ache, caked with dust and sand. You're tired, bone deep, the kind of exhaustion that makes you question why you're still here, chasing a city that might be nothing but a lie. But the disc is real, the slab is real, and the stories, Talia's, Damon's, Cora's, Theron's, are threads weaving a net you're already caught in. You start moving, not because you want to, but because standing still feels like giving up. The trail leads down the hillside, steeper now, the stones loose underfoot, threatening to send you tumbling. The air's thicker, carrying the sharp tang of salt again, mixed with something acrid, like burnt earth. Your throat's dry, your lips cracked, and every breath stings, but you keep going, driven by the disk's weight and the nagging thought that you're closer to Atlantis than ever, or closer to losing yourself. The path opens to a rocky beach, not the cove, but a new stretch of coast, littered with driftwood and seaweed. The waves crashing harder here, white foam hissing like an angry beast. The moon's light dances on the water, and you swear you see something out there. A shadow, too sharp to be a wave, too fleeting to be sure. You're not alone. A fire flickers further down the beach, its orange glow a stark contrast to the cold blue of the night. You approach, cautious, the sand crunching under your sandals, and find a small camp, a tattered tent, a pile of nets, and a woman tending the flames. Her name's Lisa, she says, her voice rough but warm, like she's used to talking to strangers. She's older, her hair streaked with gray, her hands knotted from years of work. She smells of smoke and fish, and her eyes crinkle with a kindness that feels out of place after Theron's intensity. "Sit," she says, tossing you a water skin, and you drink greedily, the water cool but tasting faintly of leather. You ask about Atlantis, expecting another cryptic tale, but Lisa's practical. "Stories don't feed you," she says, stirring a pot over the fire, "but the sea's full of them, and some are truer than you think." Lisa's not a scholar or a diver, but a fisher, someone who knows the sea's moods better than her own. She talks of currents that shift without reason, of reefs that appear and vanish, of lights under the water that no fish could make. "My father saw it," she says, her eyes on the flames. "A city, or what was left of it, during a storm when the sea was low. Towers, broken but tall, glowing like they remember the sun." She describes a place not far from here, an island that only shows itself when the tides are right, hidden by fog and fear. Her father never went back, and neither has she. But she's seen things, metal like your disc washed ashore after storms, and carvings on rocks that match the slabs. "It's out there," she says, "but the sea guards it, and it's not kind to thieves." Her story grounds you, less fantastical than Theron's, but heavier, because it feels lived in, like a truth worn smooth by time. You think of the disc still warm in your pocket, and wonder if it came from that island, if it's a piece of Lisa's glowing ruins. You show it to her, and she nods, not surprised. "Keep it hidden," she warns, her voice low. "There are others looking, and they're not as lost as you." You press her, but she won't say more, just hands you a bowl of fish stew. Its heat a small comfort against the night's chill. The stew's salty, with a faint sweetness from herbs, and it steadies you. But Lisa's words linger, a reminder that Atlantis isn't just a prize, it's a danger, and you're not the only one hunting it. Let's pull back for some history, because Lisa's tale, while vivid, needs context to keep us from floating into fantasy. Plato's Atlantis was a maritime power, its ships dominating the seas, its ports buzzing with trade. Real-world parallels exist: the Phoenicians, who sailed from Lebanon to Britain, or the Polynesians, who navigated the Pacific with nothing but stars and courage. Could Atlantis have been a seafaring culture, its ruins scattered across islands we've yet to find? Modern explorers have searched places like the Azores, the Bahamas, even Antarctica's coast, chasing underwater anomalies. Sonars revealed odd shapes, walls, pyramids, but nothing conclusive, just enough to keep the dream alive. Lisa's island could be one of these, a fleeting glimpse of something lost, or just a sailor's yarn spun to pass the night. Back at the fire, Lisa's quiet now, her hands busy mending a net, the needle flashing in the firelight. You eat, the stew warming your core, but the disc's weight pulls at you, urging you to move. You ask Lisa about the island, and she points to the sea, where the horizon's swallowed by darkness. "It's there," she says, "but you'll need a boat and luck and something to offer the sea." Her words are cryptic, but her tone's clear. She's not coming with you, and she thinks you're a fool for trying. You stand, brushing sand from your tunic, and notice the tides shifting, revealing a small boat tethered to a rock, its hull scarred but sturdy. Lisa doesn't stop you as you approach it, but her eyes follow, heavy with something like pity. Let's live a day in Lisa's world. You're on her boat, the dawn breaking in streaks of pink and gold, the air sharp with salt and the faint rot of seaweed. Your hands are raw from pulling ropes, your shoulders aching as you help Lisa cast nets. The sea's calm, but it's a lie, its surface hiding currents that could flip you in a heartbeat. Lisa's teaching you to read the water, ripples that mean fish, shadows that mean rocks, but you're distracted, scanning for that island, for any sign of towers or lights. By noon, the sun's relentless, your skin burning, and Lisa's laughing at your impatience. her voice a rough melody. "The sea doesn't rush," she says, "and neither should you. But you can't help it. The disk's humming again, or maybe it's your pulse, and every wave feels like a clue. Then you see it, a smudge on the horizon, too solid for clouds, too low for land. Your heart leaps, but Lisa's face hardens. "Not today," she says, turning the boat back. You argue, but she's firm, her hands tight on the rudder. "The sea's not ready," she says, and you realize she's not just talking about tides. Back on shore, you're restless, the disk a burning weight, and Lisa's watching you, her kindness edged with warning. "You'll go," she says, "but don't expect to come back whole." Her words sink in, and you wonder if Atlantis is worth it, if any truth is worth what you might lose. Let's step into the modern world. Oceanographers have mapped less than 25% of the seabed, leaving plenty of room for lost cities. Satellites and drones have spotted anomalies, sunken ridges, circular formations, but they're often natural, not man-made. Still, stories like Lisa's persist, fueled by finds like the Heraclean ruins off Egypt, a city submerged for centuries, or the Pavlopetri site in Greece, a 5,000-year-old town underwater. None are Atlantis, but they prove the sea hides more than we know. Could Lisa's island be real, a ruin waiting for the right tide? Or is it just hope, like believing you'll find your keys after searching the same spot 10 times? You're back on the beach, Lisa's fire dying to embers, the boat swaying in the tide. The disk's in your hand now, its spirals catching the moonlight, and you know you'll take that boat, chase that smudge on the horizon. Atlantis isn't just a city, it's a hunger, a need to know that's stronger than fear. But Lisa's warning echoes, and you realize the sea's not the only thing guarding Atlantis, it's guarding itself. And the closer you get, the more it'll take. What's worse? You're starting to think you'll give it everything, just for a glimpse of a truth that might shatter you like glass. The embers of Lisa's fire are barely alive, glowing faintly against the dark, their warmth a fading memory as the night presses in. You're standing by the boat, its hull rocking gently in the shallow waves, the wood scarred and slick with seaweed. The metal disc is still in your hand, its spirals catching the moonlight like a secret you're not sure you want to know. The sea's restless, its waves lapping at the shore with a rhythm that feels like a challenge, daring you to step into its domain. Your tunic stiff with salt and sand, your skin raw from the wind, and every muscle aches, screaming for you to turn back, to leave Atlantis to its ghosts. But Lisa's words, "Don't expect to come back whole," aren't a warning anymore. They're a hook pulling you toward the boat, toward the smudge on the horizon that might be nothing or everything. You push the boat into the water, the cold biting your legs, the current tugging like it's already claiming you. The oars are heavy, worn smooth by hands you'll never know. And as you row, the beach fades, Lisa's figure a shadow swallowed by the dark. The sea's alive around you, its surface rippling with secrets, its scent sharp and briny, mixed with something metallic, like blood or rust. Your arms burn, your breath ragged, but you keep going, the disc in your pocket a steady pulse, guiding you toward that distant shape. The moon's your only light, its glow fractured on the waves, and every splash of the oars feels like a step into the unknown, like clicking a link you know you shouldn't. The smudge grows clearer, a low silhouette against the stars, not an island, but a reef, its jagged edges breaking the water like teeth. You steer closer, the boat scraping against unseen rocks, the sound a grating screech that sets your nerves on edge. The air's heavier here, thick with mist that clings to your skin, tasting of salt and decay. You tie the boat to a spur of coral, your hands trembling, not from cold, but from the weight of what you're doing. The reef's a maze, its surface slick with algae, and as you climb onto it, your sandals slip, forcing you to grip the rocks, their edges cutting your palms. The disk's humming now, a low vibration you feel in your teeth, and you know you're close to Atlantis, to answers, or to something that'll make you wish you'd stayed on shore. You're not alone. A voice calls out, faint but clear, not from the reef, but from the water itself. You freeze, heart pounding, and see a figure bobbing in the waves, clinging to a piece of driftwood. It's a man, young, his face pale and gaunt, his eyes wide with fear or madness. His name's Calix, he gasps, his voice hoarse, like he's been screaming for days. He's a sailor, or was, until his ship sank, drawn to this reef by lights under the water, by a hum that wouldn't let him sleep. It's here, he says, his teeth chattering. But it doesn't want us. You pull him onto the reef, his body light, almost hollow, and he smells of seawater and despair, his clothes torn to rags. He's shaking, not just from cold. And you realize he's seen something you haven't, yet. Calix's story spills out in fragments, like a dream he's trying to piece together. He talks of a city below the reef, its towers faint but real, glowing with a light that's not fire or sun. He saw it when his ship went down, when the sea opened like a mouth and showed him its heart. It's alive, he whispers, his eyes darting to the water, and it knows we're here. He describes machines, not like Theron's but stranger, vast wheels turning in the deep, cables of stone or metal pulsing with energy. He thinks they're still working, still waiting. And the disk you're carrying is part of them, a trigger for something he can't name. His words are wild, but they match the hum, the carvings, the stories you've heard, and you wonder if Calix is mad, or if he's the only one seeing clearly. Let's ground this in some history, because Calix's tale sounds like it belongs in a fever dream, not a documentary. Plato's Atlantis was a hub of innovation, with canals and machines that sound almost futuristic. Real ancient cultures pushed boundaries too. The Greeks built the Antikythera mechanism. The Egyptians moved stones we still can't explain, and the Sumerians mapped the stars with eerie accuracy. Could a lost civilization have gone further, building systems powered by forces we've forgotten? Some modern theorists point to underwater structures, like the Yonaguni Monument or the Caribbean's submerged roads, as evidence of advanced cultures. They're not Atlantis, not proven, but they keep the question alive. What if we're not the first to touch the edge of something bigger? Calix's machines could be myth, or they could be a truth buried too deep for sonar to find. Back on the reef, Calix is clinging to you, his breath shallow, his eyes fixed on the water. You try to calm him, but the hum's louder now, a chorus vibrating through the coral, making your head throb. You notice something, a crevice in the reef, narrow but deep, its edges carved with the same spirals as the disk. You pull it from your pocket, and Calix flinches, like you're holding a snake. Don't, he says, but you're already kneeling, fitting the disk into the crevice. It clicks, a sound too perfect, and the hum spikes, a scream in your skull. The water around the reef churns, not from waves, but from something below. And you see it aglow, faint but growing, illuminating shapes that shouldn't be there. Arches, walls, a city's bones rising from the dark. Let's live a moment on this reef, as if you're not just a visitor, but part of its story. You're crouched by the crevice, the disk gone, swallowed by the stone, and the glows spreading, painting the water with greens and blues that don't belong. Your hands are shaking, your breath caught, and Calix is muttering prayers, his voice a desperate hum. The air's electric, crackling like a storm's coming, and the sea's alive, its surface bubbling, its depths stirring. You're not sure what you've done, but it feels final, like sending a message you can't unsend. The glow reveals more, towers, broken but defiant, their surfaces smooth, unnatural, like they were grown, not built. You want to dive, to see it closer, but the hum's a warning, and Calix's fear is contagious, rooting you to the reef. You scramble back to the boat, dragging Calix, his weight slowing you down. The reef's trembling now, small rocks breaking free, splashing into the water. You untie the boat, your hands clumsy, and row, your arms screaming, the glow fading behind you but never leaving your mind. Calyx is silent, curled in the hull, and you realize he's not coming back. Not really. Whatever he saw broke him, and you're not far behind. The sea's calm again, too calm, like it's playing innocent, but you know better. You've woken something, or it's woken you, and Atlantis isn't a dream anymore. It's a weight, a truth you can't unsee. Let's step into the modern world for perspective. Deep-sea exploration has found wonders, shipwrecks, vents, ecosystems we didn't know existed, but no Atlantis. Yet technology keeps pushing, with submersibles reaching depths once thought impossible, mapping ridges and trenches that could hide a city. Finds like the Lion City in China, submerged but intact, or the Port Royal ruins in Jamaica, prove the sea preserves as much as it destroys. Could Calyx's glowing city be real? Ruin powered by something we've lost? Probably not, but the hum, the glow, the stories, they're echoes of our own search, our need to believe we're not the first to dream too big. You're back in the boat, the reef a shadow behind you, the disc gone, its purpose served or betrayed. Calyx is staring at the water, his eyes empty, and you're rowing, the oars heavy, the sea endless. Atlantis is out there closer than ever, but it's not yours, not yet, maybe not ever. The worst part? You started something you can't stop, like a chain reaction you didn't mean to trigger. And whatever comes next, a city, a machine, a truth, might be more than you can bear, more than the world can hold. The sea stretches endless before you, a dark mirror under a sky pricked with stars, its waves lapping at the boat with a deceptive gentleness. You're rowing still, the oars biting into your palms, each stroke a battle against the ache in your shoulders and the weight in your chest. Calyx huddles in the hull, his eyes fixed on the water, unblinking, as if he's seeing something you can't or won't. The reef is gone, swallowed by the horizon, but the glow you saw lingers in your mind. A city silhouette pulsing beneath the waves, alive and unreachable. The metal disc is no longer in your pocket, left behind in the crevice, but its absence feels heavier than its presence, like you've traded a piece of yourself for a truth you're not ready to face. The air's cold, sharp with salt and the faint rot of seaweed, and your tunic clings to you, damp and gritty, a second skin you can't shed. Atlantis is out there closer than ever, but it's slipping away, or maybe you're the one slipping, caught in a tide you can't fight. You keep rowing, though you're not sure where you're going. The stars offer no map, their light too faint to guide, and the sea's a labyrinth, its currents twisting like thoughts you can't untangle. Your breath clouds in the night air, each exhale a small surrender. And you wonder if this is what Atlantis does, draws you in, shows you its shadow, then leaves you adrift, chasing a ghost. Calyx mutters something, too soft to hear, and you glance at him, his face gaunt, his hands clutching the driftwood like it's all that's keeping him here. It's still humming, he says, louder now, his voice cracked but certain. You listen, straining, but there's only the slap of waves and the creak of the boat. Still, you feel it, not a sound but a pressure, a pull, like the sea's heart is beating just for you. You steer toward a faint outline, not the reef, but something new, a low island barely rising above the water, its edges soft with mist. The boat scrapes sand, and you climb out, the water numbing your legs, the shore gritty under your feet. Calyx follows silent, his steps unsteady, like he's walking in a dream. The island small, a patchwork of rock and scrub, its air heavy with the scent of wet stone and something sweeter, like crushed herbs. You find a path, narrow and winding, leading to a rise where the moonlight pools, illuminating a structure, not a ruin, but a marker, a single stone pillar carved with spirals, waves, and symbols that echo the disc, the slab, the cave. Your heart stutters, because this feels final, like you've found the edge of Atlantis, or its end. You touch the pillar, its surface smooth and warm, and the hum returns softer now, not a warning but a sigh. Calyx stands back, his eyes wide, and you realize he's not afraid anymore. He's waiting, like he knows what's coming. You trace the carvings, your fingers trembling, and the hum grows, weaving through the air, the stone, the sea. Images flood your mind, not yours, but theirs. Towers of glass and metal, canals alive with light, machines humming with a power that feels like life itself. You see people, not gods but humans, their faces bright with hope, then shadowed with fear as the earth shakes, the sea rises, and their city falls. It's not a weapon, not a curse, but a choice. They reached too far, loved too fiercely, and the world couldn't hold them. Atlantis didn't sink, it was taken, hidden by the sea to keep its secret safe. The vision fades, and you're back on the island, the pillar silent, the hum gone. Calyx is crying, quiet tears cutting tracks through the salt on his face, and you feel it too, not sadness, but release, like you've carried a weight too long and finally set it down. The sea's calm now, its waves a gentle murmur, and you know Atlantis is out there, not lost but waiting, its story complete without you. You sit by the pillar, the stone cool against your back, and Calyx joins you, his driftwood forgotten. The stars are brighter, the air softer, and for the first time, you're not chasing, not searching. You're here, and it's enough. Let's anchor this in history one last time, because visions and pillars can feel like fantasy, and Atlantis deserves more than that. Plato's story was a warning, a tale of hubris, but it's rooted in real losses. The Minoans, wiped out by quakes and tsunamis. The sea peoples, whose origins vanished with their raids. Countless cultures, swallowed by time. Modern searches have found wonders. Submerged cities like Thonis Heraclean. Ancient ports like Pavlopetri. But none are Atlantis, because Atlantis isn't a place. It's a mirror, reflecting our fear of falling, our hunger for meaning. Archaeologists dig, divers explore, but the sea keeps its own. And maybe that's the point. Some truths are meant to stay buried, not because they're dangerous, but because they're done. Back on the island, you and Calyx sit in silence. The sea's song, a lullaby now, not a taunt. You think of Talia's nets, Damon's wrecks, Cora's dives, Theron's machines, Lisa's tides. Each a piece of the puzzle, each a voice in a story that's bigger than you. The pillar's carvings are just lines now, no longer glowing. And you realize Atlantis wasn't yours to find, not in the way you thought. It's in the search, the questions, the moments when you felt the world's pulse and knew you were part of it. Calyx looks at you, his eyes clearer, and says, "We saw it, didn't we?" You nod, because you did, not a city, but its heart, its warning, its hope. You stand, helping Calyx to his feet, and head back to the boat. The sea's waiting, its surface smooth, its depths quiet. You row, the oars lighter now, the island fading into the mist. Calyx is silent, but he's with you, not lost anymore, and you feel the same, not whole, not broken, but changed, like you've carried Atlantis and let it go. The stars guide you, the waves carry you, and somewhere the sea hums, not for you, but for itself, its secret safe, its story sung. You don't know where you'll land, but it doesn't matter. The journey's done, and Atlantis, real or not, has given you what you needed. A glimpse of something bigger, a reminder to keep searching, keep dreaming, keep living. As the boat glides on, you think of the world waiting beyond the sea, your world, with its screens and noise and endless rush. Atlantis feels far away, but it's not. It's in the choices you make, the risks you take, the truths you chase even when they hurt. You smile, the salt on your lips no longer bitter, and let the sea carry you home, wherever that is. Thank you, everyone, for joining me on this wild, winding journey through the myth and mystery of Atlantis. It's been a ride, and I'm so grateful to have you along from every corner of the world, sharing this story under the same stars. I hope it sparked something in you, a question, a dream, a moment of wonder. Before you drift off, Hit that like button if you've loved this adventure, and drop a comment with your thoughts, your theories, or just a hello from wherever you're watching. Your words mean the world, and I can't wait to read them. For now, settle into your evening, let the sea's whispers fade, and have a restful night filled with beautiful dreams. We'll meet again in the next story, chasing new mysteries, new truths. Sleep well, and see you soon.